Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. So wanted to say a big thank you to Go Fast Hobbies. As always, Go Fast Hobbies shipped our order out right away, and 2 days had it at our door. And what was that order? That order was to keep on pimping our RC10T and try to make this a better platform for racing, for what I believe. So in the last video you saw Jason from RC10 Doc said, hey, put 30-degree caster blocks on there. And I had some spare fan ones in black, and man, took out all the slop in the front, dialed. But if you noticed, our back was pretty sloppy as well. So what we did was Fan RC makes inner mounts, and they also make the rear arms. For an RC10T, I think these are T2 and GT. So we went with the same 1.5 inner mount, and that's just kind of, I guess, standard rather than running 0 or 3. Just 1.5 is always what I've kind of put in everything. That's what's on my fan graphite as well as the rest of my RC10s. All run 1.5 to have a little toe in there. On that side, so that's what we did. They do offer, 0 and 3. I just bought the 1.5 because that's what I run, and it was working well for our setup. So the only other thing that wasn't working well for our setup was all the slop. So now, no slop. I don't know if these will loosen up. None of my fan stuff has ever loosened up. As far as arms, rear arms, like on my fan graphite, which has quite a few miles on it. I mean, and it's and like I said, the only thing I've ever replaced that's quote unquote kind of worn out were the ball cups, and we wanted to change them to black anyway. So and plus I changed the steering over to J Concepts, did a couple other things anyway. So did that, but this eliminated all the slop in the back. Also, if you look at the profile, obviously that arm's a lot thinner than the stock arm. The stock arms that come on these things are super thick, like gull-wing arms, and there's just a lot of material. Don't really need it with today's plastics and stuff, so that's in there. The only other thing I had to do is, if you see my CVDs are really close, to run it in the middle position, it's pretty much touching. I'd have to put like another at least 1 or 2 mil limiter internally in the shock. For right now, I just moved it to the outside, and I have limiters on hand, so if I want to limit that travel, I can do that, move the shock back to the inside if it's, affects my setup. But that's the way I'm leaving it. So outside on the upper tower, and then outside on the lower arm as well. And then one thing that does happen is the arms are, if I can kind of put them up here, these arms are wider on the bottom. So not only are they wider overall, but the inner portion is wider as well. So on your normal RC10T, you don't run spacers, right? So the carrier fits right in there. On the fan arms that are kind of the RPM, you need to run spacers, and this allows you to move that hub. But I just had to add plastic spacers on each side, and then the hinge pin doesn't work because the hinge pin's too short. So I scavenged through all my stuff, and I couldn't find an associated hinge pin that worked. The perfect hinge pin is actually the Losi hinge pin that connects the comb upper deck to the upper front bulkhead. So like on our Losi XXT and our Losi XX buggy, that hinge pin's perfect, but I only had one, so I couldn't use it. So these, I believe, are the short inner arm hinge pins that I had left over from my XX buggy, because when you run either like the Trinity or any aftermarket front arm brace, you need a slightly longer hinge pin, and that's what's on our XX buggy. So these, I am pretty sure, are the standard inner arm hinge pins for a XX buggy. And yeah, they're a little longer than they need to be, but they work. So we're leaving them. And the comb hinge pins, like I said, I just have one, and I'm keeping that as a spare, obviously, because those bulkheads break, and if my hinge pin flies away, I have a spare bulkhead, and I have a spare hinge pin, and I have a spare upper deck. So I got that all ready to go for our Losi, so I didn't want to use that on this, and these aren't going to be used anyway, because, like I said, I run a support brace on both the XXT and the XX buggy, so that allows these to come over here because they're useless on those. So, because you need a slightly longer one. So, if you are going to order these parts from GoFast, like I said, a couple things you need to be aware of. If you're running, I'm running MIP CVDs in my situation, you're going to have to maybe limit the shock droop. Easy enough. On the outer, like I said, you're going to need a different hinge pin that's slightly longer. Basically, if the associated ones flush it, if you put the C-clip on and you push this all the way through, the very end of this is flush with the rear of the arm. So you're needing a slightly longer hinge pin. And like I said, I went through my spares. This Lozi one was kind of the closest one out there. So that's what I used. You're also going to have spacers. So I'm using, these are shock spacers. I had a bunch of black shock spacers. And these are what those are. And I think they're half. So I think I got 1 millimeter and 1 millimeter. So I have 2 halves here and 2 halves there. Same on the other side. For a total of 2 millimeters that you're going to have to use to space this out. Because like I said, this opening is wider on the RPM arms, and on the stock arms, the hub fits right in there with no spacers. So you're going to have a lot of slop in there if you don't run spacers. But we got all the slop out. Looks a whole lot better. A, aesthetically, and then B, like I said, I think it'll lighten stuff up. It gives us a little bit of adjustability with that hub to move that forward or back if we want. And yeah, I think that was a worthwhile upgrade. The arms, and again, not sponsored by Fan RC, Go Fast Hobbies, not sponsored by anybody really, except myself and MasterCard. So arms are $14.99. I think the inner mounts were like $5.99 or something like that. And I ordered a number of replacement parts. I ordered some diff stuff and stuff like that, just to replenish my supplies. I ordered some 30-degree caster blocks just in case I break these, because I run these on all my cars as far as the RC10 platform. So I have those as spares to run those, but just wanted to update everybody I know. We just ran this weekend, and like I said, the truck performed fairly well. If we cannot have ball cups pop off, and yeah, I don't know what to really do about that. I do have B6 ball cups, but I'll have to buy all B6 ball studs, which is fine. These are just the stock kit ball studs, so it's not like I bought Dragon Punch or something like that and, spent $40 on a titanium ball kit. So what I'll probably do is I'll take those with me, and I'll just go to more and size up the ball studs I need. So I'll need, a couple long ones and a couple shorts, and that's about it. I'm probably going to leave the steering arm, and I'm going to leave the cross arm here. I'm leaving those. I'm not going to switch those out to B6 or anything. Just all the camber and the steering, the tie rod ends. So not too many there. So we got 4, 4, and 4. So, just need 12 ball studs, and I already got the ball ends. So that would be an easy upgrade for us if I continue to have problems, or I can just not. I mean, if you brush anything, these things were popping off. So the last 2 heats, I didn't have an issue. Mainly because I didn't really hit anything. But like I said, if you would just tag a pipe with the wheel and you had the wheel turned, my steering was popping off almost instantly with these RPMs. So I'll see. I may upgrade those. I'm going to see how these changes work and kind of do it one change at a time. And then I probably will do the ball stud change. And I think what we're going to have to do is on the B6s, those are fairly long, so we're going to have to cut them short. And we've done that before, like on our Yokomo. We have B6 balls, or we have B5 ball studs and B5 ball cups, and I just cut them down. I cut them down a little bit, and they work fine, and not a big deal on our Yokomo Works 91. So we'll probably just do the same thing here. Hopefully, I think the J Concepts might be a little bit different. I think they're thinner, so I really want to continue to use the J Concepts tie rods. What I might do is I just might buy fan. I've never had issues with fan popping off, and I know this is a little bit of a leverage thing, different than a buggy, but I'll probably keep the RPMs on the back. I'll keep everything in here, and I may just switch out fan just on the front end and just do the black fan ones and see if that remedies the situation, because I've never had a fan ball cup pop off. And like I said, it's weird because I didn't have any of the RPM ball cups pop off on the Lozis either. And I run those on the Lozis, but they're the longer heavy duty ones and not the short ones like we have on here. And you can't run the longer ones because you run out of thread. Like I said, the one thing I could do as a hybrid is take the long ones and cut them down a little bit so they fit and they just, they take up all basically the threaded rod end, but we'll see. So, Cougar in the background, nothing wrong with the Cougar. I'm going to take the wing mounts off. I'm going to heat them up. I'm going to bend those a little bit. The front carriers, there's not really slop, but I'm going to see if I can shim those, get them just a little bit tighter. But it doesn't seem to be an issue, but that stuff just annoys me because I feel like if your car's nice and tight, for me, it feels like it's more connected and it drives better. So I'm really weird about taking all the slop out of all my cars because for me, it seems to work better. I feel like I drive a tighter car better. And when they get all sloppy and shot out, like I said, on loose dirt, it might be fine, but more on a tight, high grip clay track, it just doesn't suit my driving style. And so needless to say, all of our cars are spot on, nice and tight. But anyway, wanted to give an update on the RC10T. The other projects, there's not much really going on them. I got a sensor wire. I got some bulky reproduction gear covers for the XXT because I didn't have one on that. And the one I did have on there, I gave to Nick. So I bought 2 of those, and I have a bulky replacement one on our XX buggy, and it's great quality and works fine. So I just bought 2 to have one as a spare. So I'll get one on the XXT. I got a sensor wire for it. I got a receiver. We're going to see, I was looking for a motor. So I'm looking for a slot machine 2, 13.5 that I got to get on that. To me is done. I am going to reshim the arms. So I do have some shims over in my little tray there. So after I'm done with the Cougar, I'll pull the Tamiya, shim the rear arms, make those nice and tight as well. And then, yeah, our RC10T is done for now. So until we go back to the track, this is how it's going to sit. The only thing I might do is I know Fan's producing 3/16 axles, so I may do that, and then I may order the D-Hawk rear hubs like we have on our Fan graphite, because I do like those hubs, aluminum, a little bling bling action. So get some of those. Maybe hopefully I can get them in black. I don't know how well the blue would kind of clash with everything, but blue might be all right. So we may order those if I can get the 3/16 axle. That way I don't have to modify the J Concepts wheels. So if you are running the MIPS or even the stocks, the J Concepts are 3/16. So you got to take a 1/4-inch drill and you got to very carefully drill around the pin area so it will slide over this and engage the pin. If you drill all the way through, you're going to have a ton of slop in the wheel. It's going to wobble. So don't do that. Ask me how I know. So I have 2 fronts and I got 1 rear. Yeah. And you buy them in sets of 4, right? So you buy 4 rears, you buy 4 fronts. And I made a little boo-boo mistake on one of them, but we had some left over. So be careful. When you're drilling it, that drill will tend to grab and walk you through it. If you can have a drill press and set your gap, that's great. And you can drill down, get that set. But I just did it by eye, just drilled it out quick, and it was fine. I think you can probably use a reamer. That's not too scientific, I guess, but whatever. Whatever works for you. You do you, bro. But that is our setup on our RC10T. And I don't see much else coming, but fix the rear arms, fix the front. Excited to get it back out there. Like I said, we do have B6 ball cups, but they probably won't fit our J Concepts adjustable tie rods. So I do have some Fan black ball cups from when we re-outfitted our Fan graphite. So we switched them from white to black on that, and we will switch. And I have some extra ones, so I'll switch these out. And as they pop off, I'll just take the ones that keep popping off and I'll switch them with Fan. I didn't have any of the upper. It was just the steering on. I think I had one pop off on one side and one pop off the other side on one heat. And like I said, if you can keep off the pipes, won't have that issue at all. But man, hitting the pipes is fast. So just wanted to give everyone an update on our RC10T, and as you guys mod yours, stuff to look out for. Because like I said, I wouldn't have ever caught that I had to have a longer hinge pin in the back. And I really wish like some of those websites would note that. because if I didn't have a whole box of spares for a bunch of vintage cars, I would have never, I'd be searching and I'd be trying to figure out what fits and what doesn't. And like I said, unfortunately, the one that fits perfect is kind of expensive. It's the upper hinge pin for the low-Z brace on a XX or XXT. And then these are the inner hinge pins on a XX buggy without the front reinforcement mount, because if you use that, you go to a different low-Z hinge pin that's slightly longer, which we have on our buggy and our XXT. So, yeah, that is it. Hopefully, cross your fingers, the Masami gets released pretty soon. It says it's supposed to be end of July, and last I checked, we're getting near the end of July, so we have ours on order, so I'm waiting for a notification every day from Associated. Already got a body paint and everything, and we're going to race it. And then I do see that the fan is available as well. So I want to get that, but my ADHD won't let me until I finish other projects, which is mainly the XXT. I don't care about the Kinwall that sits in the back too much. I'm kind of throwing parts over there. But again, I don't really care to race a Kinwall because it's just a Pan RC10. It's not like it's going to change the world. But I would like to get the fan graphite and really run it against the custom long arm that we built before, because that custom long arm cost us $1,000. And if fan graphite's $400, less than half. Is it less than half the performance? I don't think so. I think it's going to be extremely comparable. And like I said, I called my shot earlier and said, hey, if they are half the price of that, they will sell an incredible amount of them because those cars perform. And our long arm graphite, if you don't remember, our fan, that's a total fan car for the most part, except for the Dragon Punch chassis kit and the JC Racing long arms. But Fan is making the JC Racing long arms, and then obviously they're making a chassis, which I am pretty sure is a copy or relatively close to the Dragon Punch. The only thing I noticed is the upper deck is thinner. So the Dragon Punch on mine use the outer holes in the carbon, where on the Fan it looks like they have a set of inner holes, so it's really snug up to the battery. And then comes through there. But again, that's why we want to get one on the channel to compare it to our custom long arm, right? And see how close it is and if there is any performance advantage or not. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little scared to run our Fan, our custom long arm, because of how much money we have in that damn thing. However, I would not be opposed to obviously running the Fan. So if it's similar, we'll run that. But again, and like I said, our whole long arm is built mainly with fan parts. So if they copied the long arms, if they copied JC Racing and the arms are the same, I've obviously heard guys are going to buy those up because JC Racing is, you got to get them from over the pond, because I don't know if Factory Works is carrying them anymore. So we'll see. But I think that car is going to be a hit. And that car's fast. Brian Kraft was pretty quick with our custom long arms, so I think it's going to transfer over to that car as well. And I would love to run that thing. But on that note, guys, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.